is the reporting that tells us the type of arrests that we're making, and that case will go to a DA's office. The detective takes it to the DA's office and says, this is the charge that we have. In some cases, what happens, even at the front desk at the DA's office, depending on how much money the DA's office has to file cases are washed right there at the desk. And it's very frustrating for law enforcement, where cases are not down to misdemeanors.
Yes.
Instead of being taken off as felonies or repeat offenders. Okay, then what we have is the officer has to go back to the department, and then it goes into the UCR report showing what we got on it. What I'm saying is it's about win and losses, and it's about money. The wins are for the DA. The DA can now say, I've got the 90% conviction rate, but what he's actually done is knocked maybe 25% of his felonies down to misdemeanors.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happens is we have the revolving door.
Yes.
Where they go into we go to court, and now you have a judge who's knocking things down and releasing people on multiple cases, just like we had happen over in North Carolina. And it's an effect that's causing people to lose their lives. So my question is, when you become governor, you're going to be the lead law enforcement officer in California. Okay, there's got to be a way to start holding these judges accountable and DA's offices for what they're doing.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is that we ought to audit them.
Yes.
You can get a task force together of individuals who've been in law enforcement,
yes,
who know the game and know how to audit these people. And you can actually get true numbers, and you can actually, at that point, district attorneys are voted in. If you really want to know what they're doing,
yeah, it's a great point.
That's how you're going to find out what they're doing. You're going to get the true numbers instead of the skewed numbers based on how I want to be in office next year, and I want to show I got a higher count of conviction. It's
a really great, thank you very much. Look, you're totally right. The whole system is rotten. And that's why, everyone knows it's total BS when crime's coming down. No, everyone knows that's BS, and everyone knows that we're not enforcing the law properly. And we do, and I look, for many, many years, as I said, I've been a business guy, but I've been a policy guy. I worked in the UK government. I was senior advisor to the Prime Minister. I worked in 10 Downing Street. I've just written a big, book about California. I've been studying the policy issues for a long time, and it's very, very clear that when it comes to crime and preventing crime, which is what the goal should be, the most important factor is the certainty of that you will be you will be prosecuted and convicted and punished. The certainty of punishment. And if they know they can get away with it, then everything falls apart. There's no deterrence. And so what you're describing is the undermining of the confidence in the system, and it gets to the police officers in the end because they think, what's the point? And so that's what you really, that's why it's so insidious. There's a couple of things I'd say. There's a really important factor in all this, which is the parole board, the state parole board. They have a big say in all the sentencing and all the stuff that goes wrong. And so that is very much something you affect as the governor. So you can make better, you can kick out the ideologues and the far left people and the sort of sociology professors or whatever, and put in common sense people who believe in punishment for crime. So that's you didn't mention that's a one way you can act directly. I love what you're talking about in terms of the power of transparency and showing people what's actually going on, and naming and shaming and exposing it.
I'm going to be held accountable for what I do out on the street.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And the thing is, eventually, how am I going to go tell a young officer they got to go out and arrest the same person over and over? And
exactly. Over. That's what I'm talking about. It's so demoralizing.
You're putting the public at risk.
Yes.
You're putting the officer at risk. Because it just becomes an open revolving door.
A revolving door. It's catch and release. And
we do a really good job we do help a lot of people, though. There are people that do get help. I've been in programs where we're able to help people. It's a fine balance. But the problem is, if you don't hold those who are supposed to be holding those accountable,
yes, then
it's just a farce.
Yeah, but I really love the point you're making about, because you understand the system better than anyone. And there are lots of components to it, and the governor doesn't control all of it. I mean, you just don't, and you've got to be realistic about that. But what you've got a big power to name and shame, and that's really strong. That's
If you go
really
to each big city here where the crime is the most rampant, we're losing 5-year-olds are getting shot. Okay, I've been to those. I've investigated where a woman was shot in her bed and pregnant at 6 months. All right, I was in the Bay Area as law enforcement for 30 years, so I saw all of this, and I saw what happened when we didn't invest in the children. We didn't invest in the schools. Being a school resource officer is a very important thing. It's just not a guy in a uniform. It's a special guy to be a school resource officer. Okay, we make impact because they get to know us.
Yeah.
It also makes an impact when you, as the head law enforcement officer in this state here, when you call a mayor in and you say your district attorneys aren't doing their job, and I have the information, I can prove it.
Yes, it's very powerful.
That's how you're going to stop the flow, because you're calling people on the car.
Yeah. Can I just? There is one other point. So I know you want to. There's another point, which is the number of. We're way below what we should be having in terms of number of law enforcement officers.
Yes.
Way below. Like we just published a report. So I'm talking of the policy organization Golden Together on crime, and we did some analysis of that. And there's basically a kind of rough standard, which is the accepted standard for like how many law enforcement you need per population. There's a kind of rule of thumb. Right now in California, if you applied that rule of thumb, we are 25,000 law enforcement officers short of where we should be. That's a huge number. I mean, I think we've got about 75,000. We should have about 100,000, something like that. And so that's again something you can do you can do that at the state level through budget and recruitment. And we waste so much money here in this state on stuff that's nonsense and not delivering anything for real people. So I just think that we can do a lot better in terms of recruitment as well. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. In 2018, New California State was established, and there's committees in 58 states. Now, here's a picture. I don't know if you can see of California. The brown is New California State. The yellow is California. Hey, so President Trump is fully aware, and he's in communication with New California State. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about New California State?
Well, I think I addressed it a little bit earlier.
But not about New California State.
No, I understand, but it's the same principle, which is that...
No, it's different. It's completely different.
No, my principle is the same.
Yeah.
My principle, which is that I want to fight for all of California, to save California, and I believe we can. And I believe we can flip California red, and I'm planning to do that and save all of California. And I don't want to break up California. I want to keep our state together and keep it and make it golden. And so that's what I believe.
How about the budget deficit that we have in California? What's your approach to that?
Right, budget deficit. I spent a lot of time on the budget this year, so let's just remember. So the numbers were these: $12 billion deficit. How did they plug the gap? Because you're not allowed. The state can't have a deficit. So he's $5 billion of the deficit. Newsom addressed through accounting tricks, just shuffling money around, putting liabilities onto future years. $7 billion he took from the rainy day fund, which is supposed to be like our savings account for when something goes wrong, like if there's a recession or something really bad. He took money he stole it from the rainy day fund to plug the hole in his finances. Guess what else he did in the same exact budget this year? So think about those two numbers: 12 billion overall deficit, 7 billion for the stealing from the rainy day fund. First of all, there's another number in the budget, an allocation of 12 billion deficit, 12 billion for free healthcare for illegal immigrants. Right? 12 billion. No, there's no deficit if you don't have that. Then, okay, let's say we do have the deficit. That's 7 billion that he took from us, from our rainy day fund. Guess what else he did in this year's budget? He increased spending on the state bureaucracy in Sacramento, not law enforcement officers and nothing that touches real people in the real world, just pure bureaucracy in Sacramento. the spending increased from 38 billion to 45 billion, a $7 billion increase. Same number, $7 billion he took from the rainy day fund, $7 billion he gave to the state bureaucracy. Guess why he did that? I mean, actually, it's even worse. I'll give you the real number. In terms of what he did with the $7 billion, the number of employees in the state bureaucracy increases from this year to next from 153,000 to 155,000. So a 2,000 head increase, which is not that big. So that $7 billion, almost all of it going to pension increases, luxury healthcare, they call it OPEB, other post-employment benefits, salary increase, basically bribes to the government unions whose support he wants when he runs for president. I mean, that's what's going on. And then if you take a step back and you said, what am I going to do about it? Well, here's the real, this has been going on, no one pays any attention. That's why I said there's plenty of money for law enforcement officers if we cut out all this kind of crap, excuse me. The budget of the state of California has doubled in the last 10 years, right? 10 years ago, the budget was $160 billion. The one he's just signed off, 323, something like that. Doubled the budget. Is everything twice as good? Everything's worse, right? Twice as bad. So and you asked about taxes. So I do have the headline of my tax plan, and there's lots of details within it, like excise on ammo and guns that we'll take a look at now that you've raised it with me. But the broad story of my tax plan is this, and it connects to the budget because you can't have a budget deficit. So if you want to cut taxes, you have to cut spending. But we should cut spending because they're wasting our money on stuff that's no good, like bureaucracy, that makes everyone's life more expensive and worse. So here's the tax plan. Number one, the people who are really being hurt by these Democrat policies is working people, working class Californians. And so the first point, the quickest way of helping them out financially. Remember, we have the highest, that's another thing with the work, we have the highest poverty rate in the country. Highest poverty rate. And we also, did I mention this? The highest unemployment rate in the country. Insane. That's really, this month, it changes every month. Right now, and it's been true for many of the last 12 months, we've had the highest unemployment rate in America. Insane. Anyway, going back to, and the highest poverty rate, people are really struggling. I see it all the time in their eyes when it's really hard to exist in California. So the quickest way to get people money would be, my first point of my tax plan, your first 100 grand free of state income tax. No state income tax on your first 100 grand. And that will help around 7 million plus households. And it's, for many people, a good few thousand a year saving, which makes a difference. The second part, though, is that we've got to encourage businesses to stop leaving California and have them come back to California, because that's how we get the jobs. The reason we have the highest unemployment is because it's impossible to run a business here and everyone's leaving. And the jobs are being created elsewhere. I mean, I'll give you an example. You've got, and actually working class jobs are the ones that are missing. So you look at, from the Bay Area where I am, big tech company, NVIDIA, the biggest company by value in the world. I'm not sure right now it changes, but massive AI, chips and whatever, fantastic success story. They just announced with President Trump a $500 billion of investment. $500 billion of investment. None of it in California. It's going to Arizona, it's going to Texas, because it's so expensive and difficult to do anything here. All those jobs are going to other states, even though it's a California company. And so we've got to stop that exodus of business so we get jobs created. And so the second part of my tax plan is over 100,000, a flat tax of 7.5%. And that also applies to capital gains, and that'll encourage the entrepreneurs and investors. So that, now, I would love to abolish all taxes, but it's not realistic. You have to pay for things, like the police and the prisons or whatever. So that's the plan. No state income tax under 100,000, 7.5% flat tax over 100,000. If you add all that together in today's budget, without actually allowing for the what they call the dynamic effect of growth, because if you cut taxes, you get, so just keeping things as they are, that is a 18.5% cut in revenue for the state. So that's basically a spending cut equivalent of around $60 billion. So that's what we got to cut from the budget, $60 billion. That's my plan. And everyone will say, oh, that's really hard. Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but it's not some crazy scheme. That would take the budget back to roughly what it was before the pandemic, under Democrats. So we got to get it back to common sense. So my plan for the budget is to cut it a lot, 18.5%, so we can cut taxes. Yes, go for it.
I actually, funny that you would, I do have a copy of the budget, 36 pages, it's lovely. I suggest everybody, if you have ink in your printing machines I mean, there's other ways obviously to get it, but I do paper. And so 36 pages, but I would like to address this sounds like a political speech, but my
Before
fellow.
you do that, excuse me, before you do that, can I ask a question about the budget? Or should we wait for you?
It's
Real
very
quick,
short.
Is
very
it
short.
legislative or is that under the governor?
It's under the governor proposes the budget,
Okay.
and then the legislature. No, you're right. The legislature votes on it, and then they will vote it down, and then you go back and forth.
Okay,
So
got it.
it's a good example. No, but it's a great question. So you can't just deliver that. It's a negotiation, and so here's the thing that I will say with the legislature, and so you're right to say I can't just wave a wand and deliver what I just said. That's my proposal. That's what I will send them, and they'll say no, we don't agree. Vote it down, back and forth. I can veto it. They can overturn a veto. It's just if they have a supermajority. By the way, that's why it's really important. It's not just about me. It's not just about the governor's race. We've got to elect more Republicans at every level, including for the state assembly and the Senate, so that we end the supermajority. It's really important that one of the big things I'm fighting for is to break the supermajority. I'm going to be supporting candidates and all of the rest of it. But just on the point about the legislature and the attitude that I will have is that when I'm elected governor at the end of next year and take office at the beginning of 2027, that will be a political revolution in California. Do you remember my show on Fox? It was called The Next Revolution. The next revolution is going to be the California Revolution. And so that's a huge change. And I will expect the legislature to work with me to implement the policies that I ran on and that people voted for. And if they're going to start mucking about and, what should we say, overturning an election and voting down the policies I ran on, very clear, it's on my website, I talk about it the whole time. So that will be my expectation, and that's how I will go into the negotiations. We've got time for one more question.
Can I address
But will you just
people of California?
I'm sorry?
I just want to know real quick.
Why can't I just want to make a comment. I
Yes,
haven't been able to.
No, but no, you please make it.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I've been trying.
Yeah. No, but you keep sort of doing a preamble. Do the comment. Yeah.
Well, so what I'm asking is, when is enough enough? And where is our taxpayer money really going? And I am going to just state my preamble about Governor Newsom, and he has left the state with an indelible mess. And here are a few points to remember next time you vote. Newsom supports an arbitrary government. He is for global welfare, avoids accountability and avoids questions on a continual basis. His record proves no end in sight for the state's homeless and drug crisis. Households fires, victims are still left with nothing. Insurance deception and business companies bailing out on us continues. Newsom supports Mayor Karen Bass's delinquent leadership, wildfire mismanagement, and sanctuary city policies. He protects sex offenders and early release of prisoners, protects corporate crime, spent $24 million cash on hand advertising for abortion, and he keeps raising rates on electricity, fuel, housing, and 5 of our greatest needs. Our water crisis is insanely ridiculous, while fresh water is piped out to sea, and Newsom's flat-out lies have been continually embraced by a small group of supporters who think he's a swell guy. In closing, I want to finish by saying our state budget is a manifest boondoggle. California's cash crisis has caused budget defaults that fall squarely on the governor's desk. So I blame Newsom for all the calamitous mess he has left for us the last 33 years. And I bring before you my receipts. These are my receipts right here. And full copy of understanding the governor's 2024-25 state budget proposal. I had to get that off my chest.
Lovely. Thank you, Jack. No, thank you. Come here. I think you do your homework.
I got my receipts.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I appreciate it. Now we can have that beer. Last question. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Would you direct local agencies to cooperate with ICE?
ICE. Yes. Yes. Okay. ICE, sanctuary, etc. So a couple of things. First of all, of course, local authorities should cooperate with ICE, but I can't direct them to do it. What I can do is direct state law enforcement to cooperate with ICE, and I will. And that's what should have happened in LA when the president and when federal officers were implementing federal immigration law, and they were at risk and asked for help from local law enforcement to protect them in their mission. That was a lawful mission. They were refused by Karen Bass for LA, by the LA County Sheriff's Department, said no. What else could the president do other than invoke federal law enforcement, the National Guard, to protect his law enforcement officers? There's a step that was missing from all of that, which is the governor could and should have stepped in even when local law enforcement were not cooperating. And you've got the CHP, California Highway Patrol, and you've got the National Guard. So the governor has law enforcement resources at his or her control. So that's how I would have done that, if everything else was the same. But of course, if we didn't have the sanctuary state law, then they wouldn't be the same. So let's talk about that. So that's SB 54, Senate Bill 54, passed in 2017. That's when the sanctuary state law was passed. Again, like the other examples, it is the law. But in my view, and in the view of many, it is an unconstitutional law because it preempts federal law enforcement. And in a way, it's as bad as, Mark Levin's made this argument. It's as bad as the annulment approach that led to the Civil War of the South saying, we're just going to ignore the law because we don't like it. And it's not okay. Now, the good news is that there's already a lawsuit. So a friend of mine, Michael Gates, he was the city attorney of Huntington Beach. Huntington Beach is a real bastion. I launched my campaign on the beach in Huntington Beach for a very good reason. That Huntington Beach, just over 4 years ago, was 6-1 Democrat. Now, 7-0 Republican. So they showed us how to fight. And they had a fantastic city attorney who took the fight to Newsom on everything. Legal lawsuit on housing, voter ID. They introduced voter ID, one thing after another. He filed a federal lawsuit on California's sanctuary state bill. Now, Michael has been, their loss, our loss is their gain. President Trump appointed him to the Justice Department. So Michael is now number 3 in the division with Harmeet Dillon and Leo Terrell. He's right there. I'd love to have him come back to be at my side, but still, he's there right now. And he filed a lawsuit in federal court. That's working its way through the system. And of course, we've got a much more favorable system now, thanks to President Trump's judicial appointments. So there is a possibility that by the time I'm governor, the sanctuary state law will have been struck down for being unconstitutional. If it isn't, then I'll begin the process and we'll start all over again. But one way or another, we are going to have law enforcement at every level, local and in relation to crime, but also federal, because it's very simple. I'm a legal immigrant. So we moved here 2012 with my wife and my 2 sons, and it's not simple or quick but it shouldn't be. This is America. There's no greater honor in the world than becoming an American. And so, it took a long time. We had a visa and then a green card and then, The citizenship 9 years it took for me and my family. And I'm absolutely honored to have done it the right way. But we've got to have legal immigration, and that both parts of that are important. Immigration, we're for that. Americans are for that. We know that that's what made America what it is, waves of immigration. But legal, you can't just walk across the border. And just today I was speaking to someone in Sacramento, hotel owner. He had someone, it's a true story. I mean, it's amazing, these stories. We all know, you all have these stories. He hired a driver for the shuttle bus. And after 2 days, this guy said, can you pay me cash? He said, no, that's not how why? And he said, well, I'm going to lose all my benefits. So he got into the story. So this guy's getting $7,000 a month in benefits. 7,000, what's that, 84 grand a year? For doing nothing. And then he got the real story. He was flown in from Afghanistan. They sent to Virginia, free house, fridge stocked with groceries. Then they bring him to California. They tell him, you get all these benefits, and then they tell him, Americans are racist, so don't go to the grocery store. We'll do grocery deliveries. 7 grand a month. Like, what is going on? This is all got to stop. And the illegal immigration has got to stop. And all of this, free money for doing nothing, it's all got to stop. Exactly. So I'm just telling you, and everything I'm saying, I know is supported by the majority of hardworking Californians who are sick of being ripped off, sick of paying the highest taxes in the country for handouts and the worst roads and everything falling apart. No, it's all got to stop. That's why I'm running, to stop the nonsense, bring back common sense, and support working families, working people in California, small business owners, the heart of our state, who've been completely crushed by these ideologues and these elitists who've been in power too long, and it's time to kick them out, and that's why I'm running. We're going to do it, everybody. Thank you very much. I have to... Yes. Oh, I'm sure he'd be very, very excited to come and visit. No, I think he'd be very excited. No, but wait. How about this? How cool would it be for the Republican governor of California to welcome the Republican president on the tarmac in Los Angeles airport? How about that? No. And then we're gonna. No, I know. And no, in LA. Imagine how much they'll hate that. And then we'll come. Then we'll go around the state and see every part of it. Exactly. Thank you. Of course. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yes, I know. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
Can I get a photo?
Yeah.